He was just walking through the park, trying to clear his mind. Then he heard a soft, shaky sob coming from behind a bench. A little girl sat there, tears streaming down her tiny face. No one seemed to notice, no one stopped to help. When she finally spoke, her words pierced him straight through. James had always been a man of routine. Every evening, after long hours at the office, he took the same winding path through the city park. The park wasn't just a shortcut. It was his escape from the stress, the deadlines, and the quiet loneliness that seemed to settle over him like a heavy blanket. But tonight felt different. The air was crisp, the sun was dipping low, and a soft wind rustled the autumn leaves across the path. As he walked past the usual benches and the empty fountain, a sudden sound stopped him mid-step. A small, fragile sob, barely audible but unmistakably human. His heart tightened, and he turned toward the sound. There, tucked under the shadow of an old oak tree, sat a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 6 or 7, dressed in a coat that was far too thin for the chilly evening. Her small hands clutched a worn-out backpack, and her eyes, wide with sadness, glistened with tears. James felt a pang he hadn't felt in years. He knelt down slowly, careful not to startle her. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked gently. The girl flinched but didn't move away. Her lips trembled, and for a long moment, she just stared at him, silent and broken. There was something about her, something that reminded him of a time when life had been simpler, when small acts of kindness meant everything. He sat beside her, giving her space but showing he was there. "It's okay to cry," he whispered. "Do you want to tell me what happened?" Finally, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I lost my mom," she said, each word trembling with fear. "She said she'd be back, but she's gone, and no one's helping me." Her small hands shook as she hugged her knees, and James felt a lump form in his throat. He wanted to tell her it would be okay, that someone would come, but he didn't know how to fix a sadness that felt so deep, so real. For a long while, they sat in silence, surrounded by the rustling leaves, the distant laughter of people far away, completely unaware of the tiny world of grief that existed just a few steps away. James could feel the weight of her fear pressing against him, and he realized something he hadn't admitted to himself in a long time. Sometimes, helping someone else heal could also mend the cracks in your own heart. The park was usually full of life during the day, but now, as shadows stretched across the paths, it felt lonely and cold. James looked around, hoping someone, anyone, would notice the girl and offer help, but passers-by either hurried past, eyes glued to their phones, or pretended not to see, their expressions indifferent. A jogger even gave them a sideways glance, muttering something about being late. James felt a bitter knot in his stomach. How could the world be so busy, so careless, when a small child was sitting here, alone and terrified? He tried again, his voice louder, a little firmer. "Sweetie, we need to find someone to help you. Can you tell me your name?" The girl's voice shook. "I'm Emily, but my mom," she promised. She choked on a sob, her words dissolving into nothing. James reached out, gently resting his hand on hers, but the girl pulled back instinctively. He understood. She had already faced disappointment, the crushing reality of adults not keeping their promises. As minutes passed, James realized that the authorities were not coming anytime soon. He couldn't just leave her here. He tried to ask nearby stores if someone could call her parents or the police, but each door he knocked on either ignored him or turned him away. The world's indifference was suffocating, and James felt his hope slipping away. Emily's small frame shivered under the cold evening air. I think she doesn't want me anymore," she whispered. Her words struck James like a lightning bolt. He had never heard such raw sorrow before. A child so certain that she had been abandoned. The helplessness in her eyes mirrored a loneliness he had carried for years. James felt a swell of frustration and sadness. He had never thought the world could be so cruel, so cold, to someone so small and fragile. And yet, in that moment, he realized that even one act of kindness, one genuine act, could change everything. But could he reach her in time before the night grew darker, before fear swallowed her entirely? James knew he couldn't wait any longer. He took a deep breath and scooped Emily into his arms, feeling the slight weight of her small body. "It's okay, Emily. I'm here. You're not alone anymore," he said softly. Her body relaxed slightly, trusting, clinging to the warmth of a stranger who had become her protector. He walked toward the park's exit, scanning for a police officer or a security guard. Finally, near the gate, a uniformed officer approached. James explained the situation quickly, and Emily hid her face against his shoulder, uncertain if she could trust anyone else. The officer knelt beside her, gently asking her name and if she was safe now. Emily nodded slowly, tears still falling, but now mixed with a tiny flicker of relief. James stayed nearby as the officer made a few calls. Minutes later, a woman appeared, running with worry etched across her face. "Emily! Oh my God, Emily!" she cried. The little girl jumped into her mother's arms, sobbing and clinging tightly. James felt a rush of relief and joy. He had done something, even if small, to reunite a child with the love she had feared lost. Emily's mother looked at James, gratitude shining through tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know what we would have done without you." James smiled softly, feeling a warmth that washed away the heaviness he had carried all evening. As he walked back through the park alone, James realized something profound. Sometimes, the world seems harsh and indifferent, but even the smallest act of kindness, sitting with a crying child, offering your time, your presence, can ripple into something beautiful, something life-changing. Kindness doesn't always come in grand gestures. Sometimes it's simply showing up when someone feels invisible. A small act can light the darkest moments. We all have the power to be that light for someone else. Because in a world full of indifference, kindness changes everything.